put out. We have investigated the report of racist fan behavior in the vicinity of the court during the May 17th, 2025 Chicago Sky at Indiana Fever game. Based on information gathered to date, including from relevant fans, team, and arena staff, as well as audio and video review of the game, we have not substantiated it.
Guys, today, Cathy. Uh-oh. Shame on you. Cathy Engelbert pens this beautiful article written by Cathy, about Cathy, for Cathy.
What if the most anticipated game of the WNBA season was ruined, not by the players, not by poor performance, but by the very people meant to keep it fair?
She hits a very long three from the logo to end the third quarter, and which put them up, I believe, around 10 points going into the fourth quarter. With that was a huge momentum shift, but this is something that happens to the greatest of greats when it comes to shooting. And I hope between her...
That's exactly what fans were forced to watch during the Indiana Fever versus New York Liberty showdown. This wasn't just any game, it was the game. The arena was packed, energy electric, and the stakes sky high. Caitlin Clark, the league's rising star, was matched up against the defending champs. It should have been a showcase of everything the WNBA wants the world to see. Instead, it became a warning sign.
So as you can see after the game, Caitlin Clark and Sophie are both running up to the referee here. They are both so upset, and the referee is just walking away from them. He won't even look at them in the face. He keeps turning, like Sophie even went up at one point and is like tapping on his arm. He would not even look at them. You guys, I have watched so much.
From the very first whistle, something felt off. Caitlin Clark was driving into the lane, taking clear contact, and getting nothing. Play after play, she was hacked, shoved, and bumped off her spot. Not a single call. Meanwhile, the Liberty were gifted free throws for the lightest touches. By halftime, it was clear this wasn't just bad officiating. It looked like favoritism. Don't let this be the last time you hear the truth. Subscribe now and stay ahead of the mainstream spin.
So they start off by sharing that the officiating in the WNBA became as hot button of an issue as any. Heated debates surrounding the league's physicality dominated the headlines, particularly when Indiana Fever star rookie Caitlin Clark was subject to several intentional fouls. Now, they also brought up Game 5 of the WNBA Finals. We actually made a whole...
Then came the moment that lit social media on fire. The final possession. Clark, again, was mauled, 4 separate fouls in one play. Arms wrapped around her waist, hands swatting across her body, shoved to the ground, and the refs just watched, silent, unbothered. Fans couldn't believe what they were seeing. Commentators were stunned. Everyone knew this wasn't just another missed call, it was a complete collapse of integrity. And it wasn't just Clark. Lexi Hull played perfect defense on the other end and still got hit with a ghost foul. Nothing in the footage supported the call. Even the broadcast replay caught the Liberty player barely making contact. Yet somehow, Hull ended up penalized while Liberty players kept racking up points from the line.
Investigating whether there were noises made that hurt Angel Reese or any of the Chicago Sky players. How did we get here? I literally started thinking about...
By the end of the game, the numbers told the full story. Liberty, 32 free throw attempts. Fever, 15. That's more than double. In a tight game like this, that's not just a stat. That's a death sentence. That's the difference between a win and a headline that says Clark comes up short again. And if you thought the refs might be willing to explain any of it after the final buzzer, think again. Cameras caught Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham running toward the referee, clearly frustrated, demanding some kind of accountability. And what did they get? Nothing. The official turned his back, refused eye contact, and walked away. Even when Sophie tapped him on the arm, begging for a second of honesty, he kept walking like they didn't exist. That's not confidence in your calls. That's cowardice.
Suspect calls at the end of that game, and a lot of people felt like the WNBA Finals were actually rigged because Cathy Engelbert was also wearing a dress that had the New York City skyline on it, so there was just a bunch of things that seemed kind of fishy. Now, where the article starts to get interesting.
For fans who were excited to see a competitive game, it felt like a slap in the face. For players like Clark, who are putting the league on their shoulders, it felt like sabotage. And for everyone watching, a simple question started to echo louder and louder. Is this league even trying to protect its stars? What kind of official runs from the players instead of standing by their calls? That's the question everyone was asking after the final buzzer. The game was over, but the frustration had only just begun. Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham, both visibly upset, immediately made their way toward the referee, looking for answers. They weren't screaming, they weren't causing chaos. They simply wanted a conversation, a moment of honesty, but what they got was silence.
The refs messed up 3 calls in the last 3 possessions of this game. First, DeWanna Bonner gets absolutely destroyed, no call. And then Sabrina Ionescu makes the contact. And this is the worst one. There's 1 foul. There's 2 fouls. Then she holds her, watch this, with her shoulder and on her arm when she follows through and then fouls her for the 4th.
The ref didn't just ignore them, he avoided them, turned his back, refused to even make eye contact. Sophie tapped his arm, hoping to be heard. He brushed it off like she didn't exist. Clark, still stunned by the no calls that had defined the 4th quarter, stood there, confused and visibly hurt. These are professional athletes, fighting for every win, every possession, and they were being treated like their voices didn't matter. It wasn't just poor communication, it was blatant disrespect. Fans caught it all on camera. The clip went viral within minutes, thousands of comments, millions of views, and one common message: if the refs can't even face the players after a game, they don't belong in the league.
Time on her arm. It's cheating, it's plain as day. The haters will say, she got locked up. Yeah, if you're fouling the whole game, but I'm going through this entire game.
This wasn't about a single call anymore, it was about accountability, or the complete lack of it. Refs are supposed to be neutral, they're supposed to be professional, but walking off like nothing happened, after a game full of one-sided whistles, that doesn't look neutral, that looks shady. And here's the part that stings the most: these players are the reason the league is growing. They're the reason arenas are full and ratings are rising. And yet, when they speak up, when they ask for fairness, they get dismissed like kids on a playground. If the WNBA wants fans to take it seriously, it has to start by cleaning up the people in charge of enforcing the rules. Because right now, it looks like those people are doing more damage than any opponent on the court. How does the league's biggest star become the league's biggest target overnight? Since day one, Caitlin Clark hasn't just faced pressure, she's faced punishment. Not from fans, not from coaches, but from the very players she shares the court with. It started with cheap bumps, then came the off-ball elbows. Now, full-blown hits that have no place in professional basketball. One moment stands out more than any other. A brutal off-ball shot by Kennedy Carter that stunned fans across the country. Clark wasn't looking. She wasn't even in the play. Carter walked right up and threw her body into Caitlin's back, sending her to the floor in a heap. It was dirty. It was reckless. And the refs? They called it a common foul. Not a flagrant. Not even a technical. Just a regular foul, as if it were nothing more than a hand check. The most visible player in the league gets blindsided in front of the world, and the officials treat it like a missed high five. No ejection. No warning. No accountability. Just a silent nod and a whistle, and the game moved on like nothing happened. And this wasn't a one-time thing. Clark's been shoved, hacked, held, and even body-checked, night after night, with almost zero protection. The kind of contact that would have NBA refs calling flagrant twos? In the WNBA, it's treated like background noise if it's against Caitlin. Why? That's the question nobody in the league office seems willing to answer. Some say it's jealousy. Some say it's resentment. A rookie walking in with more fame than most veterans have seen in their entire careers? That doesn't sit well. And instead of the league stepping in and making it clear that violence won't be tolerated, they've stayed silent, which only makes it worse. Caitlin isn't just playing basketball, she's surviving it. And while the WNBA is cashing in on her name, her image, and her historic fan base, they've done almost nothing to protect her on the court. And what happens when a league uses its biggest star but refuses to shield her from danger? You're about to find out, because this situation just triggered one of the biggest shakeups in WNBA history. What if the numbers proved the bias was real all along? You don't have to guess. You don't need conspiracy theories. The stats tell the story, and they're flat out disturbing. The Indiana Fever currently sit at a staggering -31 in free throw differential this season. That's not a typo. That's a red flag so bright, it's impossible to ignore. Now let's talk about the Liberty game, the one that pushed fans over the edge. New York went to the line 32 times. Indiana? Just 15. That's more than double. In a close, physical game, that gap doesn't just happen by accident. It's not bad luck. It's not just how the game played out. It's something deeper, something deliberate. This isn't just one game. It's a pattern. The Fever attack the basket aggressively every night. They play through contact. They earn trips to the line. But somehow, they rarely get them. And when they do, the other team always seems to get more. Let's be real, refs miss calls. That's sports. But this This looks orchestrated. One team is clearly getting the benefit of the doubt, while the other is being ignored. And that other team just happens to have Caitlin Clark, the league's most talked about name, on it. Fans aren't dumb. They see the box scores, they watch the replays, they know what a foul looks like, and they know when something's off. So when they see Clark driving to the rim, taking hits, and hearing silence, while Liberty players shoot freebies for minor contact, it raises eyebrows. And it's not just fans. Analysts, former players, and even coaches are starting to say it out loud. The calls are one-sided. The numbers back it up. And if the WNBA thinks people aren't paying attention, they're badly mistaken. Because the league might be gaining new viewers, but it's also losing trust. And that trust? It took a direct hit the moment the league tried to cover its tracks by suspending someone most fans never expected to be held accountable. When the officials won't defend the players, the coach has to. And Stephanie White finally did. For weeks, fans had been begging someone, anyone, from the Fever's organization to say what they were all thinking. And after the Liberty game disaster, Coach White didn't just speak up, she unloaded. In the post-game press conference, she didn't bother tiptoeing around the issue. She called it exactly what it was, disrespectful. Not frustrating, not unfortunate, disrespectful. That was her word for the 32-15 free throw gap. And she made it clear, she was done staying quiet. She didn't lash out in anger, she led with conviction. Her tone? Controlled but furious. Her message? Unmistakable, my team deserves better. And finally, someone in power had the guts to say it out loud. This wasn't just about one game. It was about a season of unfair calls. A season of watching Caitlin Clark get thrown around with no whistle. A season of players like Lexi Hull getting penalized for playing clean defense. Coach White made sure the league knew this wasn't slipping under the radar anymore. And fans noticed. The reaction online was instant. Clips of her speech were reposted everywhere. Fans flooded comment sections with support. Even neutral viewers, people who don't follow the Fever, respected her for standing up when others wouldn't. Because in a league where silence often gets rewarded, Stephanie White chose fire. She didn't just defend her players. She told them, and the world, that she sees what's going on. That she's not blind to the double standards. That she's not afraid to call out the system that keeps failing them. And for a young team like Indiana, that kind of leadership is everything. But even her words weren't enough to stop what was coming next. Because just hours later, the league made a move that shocked everyone, and it started at the very top. When leadership fails, the fallout is massive, and this time, it landed on the commissioner herself. In a move no one saw coming, but maybe everyone should have, the WNBA suspended its own commissioner, Cathy Engelbert. That's right, the league's top boss, gone. Why? Simple. She ignored the warning sign. For months, players were begging for fairness. Coaches were raising red flags. Fans were shouting across every platform. The officiating wasn't just bad, it was out of control. And Cathy? She did nothing. She stayed silent. She watched it spiral and let it happen. So the league finally did what it should have done a long time ago. They held someone accountable, and that someone was her. This wasn't a suspension over a single bad call. It was punishment for an entire season of neglect. Behind the scenes, insiders say the pressure had been building for weeks. Executives were frustrated. Owners were furious. And once Caitlin Clark started taking hits, and no one in the front office stepped up, the league had no choice but to act. Let's not sugarcoat it. Cathy Engelbert didn't get removed because she made one mistake. She got removed because she let the whole system rot while she smiled through press conferences and pretended nothing was wrong. She became the face of a league that was losing control, and the league finally snapped. This wasn't just about missed fouls or free throw gaps. According to reports, some believe Engelbert had long shown favoritism to certain teams, specifically the Liberty. From the finals last year to her viral moment handing out the trophy in team-colored blue and black, fans were already suspicious. And this latest mess only added fuel to the fire. The suspension wasn't about fixing officiating, it was about saving face. Damage control. The league hit the panic button, and Cathy was the sacrifice. Plain and simple. But here's the question nobody wants to answer. Would this have happened if Caitlin Clark wasn't in the league? Would the outrage have gotten loud enough? Would the league have actually done anything? Or would they have just swept it under the rug like every controversy before it? The truth is that Clark changed everything. She forced the spotlight on a system that was never built to be watched this closely. And once the fans saw what was really going on, the league couldn't hide anymore. But if they thought removing Engelbert would be enough, they were dead wrong. What happens when the people running the league stop believing in the person at the top? According to insiders, that's exactly what happened behind the scenes at the WNBA. For weeks, maybe longer, owners and executives had been pushing for Cathy Engelbert's removal. They didn't go public. They didn't hold press conferences, but the whispers were getting louder. And it wasn't just about bad referees. It was about bad leadership. At first, it was quiet. A few missed calls here and there. But once the Caitlin Clark situation exploded, so did the frustration behind closed doors. Engelbert didn't just ignore the noise, she downplayed it. She had chance after chance to step up, speak out, and protect the league's biggest asset. Instead, she ducked. She stalled. She hoped it would all blow over, but it didn't. With Clark getting shoved on live TV, fans chanting for fairness, and coaches calling out the officials, Engelbert's silence became louder than anything she could have said. And to the owners, that wasn't just weak, it was dangerous. This wasn't just another season. This was the moment the WNBA had waited for. The spotlight was finally on, and the woman in charge was fumbling the bag. And here's where it gets even more damning. Some league insiders claim Engelbert had already lost support from key executives before the Clark controversy ever reached a boiling point. They were just waiting for the right excuse to act. And when Clark became the center of controversy, when the whole sports world started watching, the perfect storm hit. League decision-makers knew one thing. Caitlin Clark brought in money, attention, sponsors, and ratings. If the league lost her, or worse, let her fan base turn on the league, it would be a disaster. Engelbert had become a liability, not just because of what she did, but because of everything she didn't do. So they pulled the trigger. And just like that, the commissioner was out, not because the league suddenly found its conscience, but because the people behind the curtain had finally had enough. Enough of the excuses, enough of the bad optics, enough of watching their investment circle the drain while Engelbert smiled through it all. But even with her gone, one major question remains: was she acting alone, or was she just the fall person for a much deeper problem? Did the WNBA actually fix the problem, or just slap a bandage on a bullet wound? That's the question hanging in the air right now. And the answer isn't just about a suspended commissioner or a few bad refs. It's about trust, integrity, and whether this league is truly ready for the spotlight it begged for. Caitlin Clark brought millions of new fans to the WNBA. Not casuals, invested fans. People showing up, buying merch, tuning in every night. But with every missed call, every non-whistle, every awkward press conference, the league didn't just frustrate fans, it insulted them. Now the commissioner is gone, the refs are under fire, and the league is scrambling to rewrite the narrative. But here's the brutal truth: if this was just a stunt to calm the outrage, it won't work. Clark's fan base isn't going anywhere, and they're watching everything. Every call, every interview, every shift in how she's treated. This isn't about one player getting special treatment. It's about the face of the league being treated like a punching bag while the league cashes in on her fame. And fans aren't stupid. They know when they're being played. If they sense that this was just a move to protect the brand, not the players, they'll walk. And they'll take the momentum with them. Right now, the WNBA is standing on a ledge. One wrong step, and the trust they've built over the last year disappears overnight. The energy, the growth, the excitement. It doesn't matter if fans feel like the game is rigged. So the question is this: was Cathy Engelbert the real problem, or just the first name thrown under the bus to protect a system that still doesn't care? The next move will either save the WNBA, or expose it completely. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.